Hi, and welcome to Rise, Heal, and Grow. I'm Leah M. Hill. This show is a podcast production of Apollo Sunrise Center, which is a health, wellness, and spiritual retreat center in Merrimack, Massachusetts. On this show, we shine the light on those who nurture wellness and inspire positive change. My guest today is Lolli Leeson. She is a certified holistic health and culinary lifestyle coach. Hi, Lolli.
Hi. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, well, welcome back. I'm glad to have you back.
Thank you. Round two.
Round two, because we have lots more to talk about. So when you were here the last time, Lolli, you were talking about healthy eating, healthy food, and talking about how easy it is for many of us and how it's much easier for us to make positive, healthy lifestyle changes in our food and our diet. And today, though, you wanted to come back and talk a little bit more about a sort of overarching theme.
Yes.
About how our perceptions have changed over the years, and also how the entire food industry has changed, right?
Yes, very much so.
All right. So let's first talk about this food pyramid. So a lot of us are familiar with the food pyramid because we learned it in school, but at some point it shifted and changed. So what was it originally, or what was it supposed to be?
Yeah, well, we've had many iterations of food pyramids over the years. In fact, the first food pyramid came out in the 1940s, and then they had another one in the 1960s, but officially they didn't come out into the USDA food pyramid until 1992 was the first food pyramid. And so there have been these different iterations over the years, and I'll show that. And then there was My Plate in 2011.
Okay.
And now we have the Eat Real Food pyramid, and it's an upside down pyramid this time.
Oh, wow.
So, yes.
Okay. All right.
So it's all been turned upside down on its head. So I'm here to hopefully kind of bring people back to basics. But
so what was this originally like? What was the original intention, do you know, of the actual food pyramid?
Yeah, the original intention was to help people set the standard for healthy eating. Okay. But people have to understand with each iteration of a food pyramid, everybody wants to get their line their pockets,
right? Get their little piece along the way.
Exactly, get their piece of the pie. And so whether it's plant heavy or dairy heavy or meat heavy, that is all sort of goes back to kind of jockeying for position in the dairy and the food industry.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you have to take that a little bit in understanding of the food pyramid. Overall, the intent is to help people understand, about fats, carbs, proteins, how to eat and how many servings to have every day. But industry definitely dictates with each iteration of how the look of it actually feels.
So even from the very beginning, from the first idea of doing the food pyramid, there was this influence, is what you're saying. This influence of, let's say, corporations that wanted their own input into the pyramid.
Yes, and to set pricing, really, for the grain industry and for the cattle industry and for the farmers. So, in terms of setting prices, everybody wants to jockey for position in how to do that.
Wow. So where did the original food pyramid just miss the mark? Where did it go wrong?
I think the 1992 pyramid,
should we show that?
We'll show this a little bit on the screen. So when you look at this food pyramid, this is very, very heavy on
carbs. That's all I'm looking at right now. It's carbs. It's all there.
Carbs. Can you imagine eating that many carbs?
No. Well, maybe some days, but not every day. Maybe.
Not every day.
Yeah, some days.
So that was 6 to 11 servings.
Oh my goodness.
Of carbs, and then you have, of course, your fruits and vegetables, and your meats and things like that. And then really up here, which was I think too bad, was that they didn't say what were healthy oils. We know that olive oil is a healthy fat.
Right.
So what it said, all fats were bad.
Oh.
So what that led to
Right.
was, I don't know if you remember, but there was this whole, the non-fat craze.
I sure do,
so
yes.
So they put,
Yes.
all these
Having the non-fat
foods,
yogurt
exactly, these
was
packaged
better.
foods,
Yeah.
exactly. So everything was about,
Non-fat.
taking the fat out.
Ah,
But
interesting.
unfortunately, the fallout from that was they added sugar in as a replacement to taking the fat out. And so
right.
that's where you really started to see the obesity rates climbing higher and higher. And, 1 in 7 people was obese back in 1992, and now it's 2 in 5.
So for every 5 people, let's just clarify.
It used to be 1 in 7.
So for every 7 people in the U.S.,
Yes.
we're talking U.S.,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
There was 1 person who was obese.
Exactly.
Now every
it's
5.
It's 2 in every 2 in 5.
5. Oh my gosh.
People is.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then 1 in 3 American adolescents between the ages of 12 and 17 has prediabetes. So you can see what sort of happened from then. So which led to the My Plate pyramid in 2005. So this is the My Plate, and so that was a little bit easier to understand, and this is quite different. So they made it pretty clear here. So instead of a pyramid, it's a plate. And so really half your plate should be fruits and vegetables.
Got it. Okay. That's easier to understand.
And then your protein, and then your whole grains. And we had the nutrition world had to fight very hard with the dairy industry to actually put the liquid as water. Not dairy, outside of the plate.
Dairy.
So it wasn't really inside of the plate, it was considered outside of the plate.
Interesting. Okay.
So that was yet another iteration.
Okay.
And then comes along, this very recent new pyramid, which is an upside down pyramid.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And now you can see up here that it's heavy on the meat. But what I do like about it is that it does say eat real food in big black letters.
Real food.
Eat real food. And I think that's where we've gone off the rails, is people, because we have so many packaged foods, that, you go into a supermarket and there's a million boxed and packaged foods.
Right.
And so we've really gotten away from that is not real food.
Right.
So that's what I like about this new pyramid, is that the premise is really going
real
back
food.
to eating real food. And
Okay. So talk to us about what you mean by real food.
Yep. So I like to talk about real food because 60 to 70% of the American diet now, today, is what the calories that are coming from 60 to 70% of the American diet is packaged food, and is packaged food, ultra-processed food. There's a difference between packaged food and ultra-processed. It doesn't necessarily mean a cracker, is an ultra-processed food, right? And so, understanding a little bit about what a processed food is, an ultra-processed food. But it doesn't matter. It's still not considered, real food.
Real food.
Yeah,
so
real food is something that, comes up from the ground. It sprouts.
I gotcha. Okay. All right.
It's a potato.
Potato.
It hasn't been at all processed.
Right. A vegetable.
It hasn't been turned into a potato crisp.
Okay.
Or a chip, or a potato flake, or, canned into something. It's actually a potato from the ground that is a potato.
Right.
It doesn't have a nutrition label on the potato because there's thousands of nutrients, in a vegetable.
That are already
a
there.
Squash or a potato or something like that.
Right. And when in the processing of the food, then the nutrients get taken out or killed, right? Or they're dissolved.
They get refined.
Refined. Okay.
Right.
That's a better word.
Right. Refined.
Refined. And then these other things are added,
yes,
right?
and that means that the endosperm has been taken away from the wheat So
Okay.
it's been stripped
Oh.
of that fiber and that nutrient
Okay.
to make that packaged food.
Right.
So when you process food, you start to refine and strip out those nutrients, and then to make them sellable, you have to add in
Right.
the fractionated nutrients, to make it look like a healthy food.
Right.
But it's not.
But it doesn't have any of those qualities of the health that it originally did, of the healthy aspects of it.
That's
let's
right.
say.
Right, because you've
Okay. fractionated
the nutrition.
Right. So this is very different from what we grew up with, right? So this like, it's like a new way of thinking, I guess, is the way you're talking about, like, to eating this real food. Because when we were growing up, we didn't really think about it. I mean, we were eating the Twinkies and the, whatever the
That's right.
all the, I don't know.
We had them in our
that-
lunch boxes.
Yes, in the lunch boxes and everything. It really wasn't, apples and things like that. So this new way of thinking is just very different from what we grew up with. Is this movement about, educating, let's say, parents, families to educate the kids differently? Because I don't feel like I know I saw the food pyramid when I was a kid, but I don't remember seeing the plate and I don't remember seeing the upside down food pyramid. That's really cool too.
Yep.
So tell us about that, like this journey, like how this has shifted and changed and evolved.
Well, I think that it's coming full circle.
Okay.
I think we're in a time in this world right now where a lot of things are tipped on its head, and people are wanting and needing to come back to basics, to come full circle.
Right.
Because, when you think about the caveman, right? I
Yeah.
mean, our teeth are still, our incisors are only used for, are chewing meat. Everything else is for really crushing plants. And when you think about how we evolved from the caveman, they didn't go to Costco and buy 500 rolls of toilet paper.
Right.
They ate very simply.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they could find, and we have evolved. Part of our DNA is still back with the caveman.
Yeah.
And so we've evolved over time, and we've complicated nutrition, and it really isn't as complicated as we have made it seem.
So it's a lot easier. What you're saying is to just eat the real food, like you're saying. So do you agree with this new upside down pyramid? Is that
I actually do.
Okay.
I actually do. I think all food pyramids are controversial.
Mm-hmm.
I like this food pyramid because we're this new administration with RFK. He is realizing and he understands that we are really in a bad way, in a huge crisis with our health, and he is doing what he can to bring light to what is happening with the health of our kids. So he's doing what he can to bring this food pyramid back to something that people can really understand, and really, sticking it to all of us, to the American people, that we really need to focus, because we're in a bad way in this country.
Definitely.
With our health.
And the wake-up call is really in the numbers that you shared, the numbers of the diabetes and how it has risen, and the obesity numbers and everything. So that's really the wake-up call.
Yeah, and it clearly, as you can see, I mean, it's non-negotiable. You can see how our health has deteriorated, as these convenience foods have come onto line, particularly the sodas and the, and it's not just fast food, it's really all packaged food. It's really the way we live a life of convenience today. And so how to simplify it for people, bring it back.
Yeah, because we don't feel like we have a lot of time to cook at home, or we get confused. I go in the grocery store and it's like, it's overwhelming. It's like so many things to choose from. How do we navigate that?
Yeah, I know. Well, we've had a very centralized food system. Even sometimes just shopping at a smaller market and not shopping at such a big market.
Yep.
Because when you walk into a supermarket, there are so many choices
Absolutely.
that it's very easy to overbuy things that, you really don't need. And all the marketers are very good at putting all the cereals and those foods at a kid's eye level. So it's really hard
and the candy,
when you go in with your children and shop in the supermarket because they want all the things that are, right at their eye level.
Exactly. I remember that when I was a kid. Yeah, that was everything that I wanted. And I think now some of the stores have non-candy aisles or something, so you don't have to have that whole tantrum with the kid at the candy.
That's right. Well, it's always good to shop the perimeter.
Yes.
Of the grocery store.
Yes. But I think too, maybe you can talk a little bit more about the food simplicity of like keeping it simple and making it simple. I think I like the idea of encouraging people to shop at the smaller markets, even though they might be paying a little bit more. But the advantage of that is not getting overwhelmed with all the choices that are not healthy. And what other kind of things we can do to like keep things simple and make it easy.
Yeah. Well, I think eating real food is a simplicity in itself.
Okay.
Because it forces you to cook home-cooked food instead of doing takeout.
Right.
Or going through going through a fast food restaurant, the drive-through, is that when you intentionally shop simpler, just keep to the perimeter of the supermarket, then you're coming home with real food instead of a lot of packaged convenience things.
Yeah.
And so just by that standard alone, you're going to think, oh, okay, I've got a potato, or I've got, a delicata squash. Okay, what can I do with that tonight?
Right, so it kind of opens the possibilities, because I'm thinking that some people will say, I'm not going to buy all the fresh stuff because it's just going to go bad. It's just I'm not going to use it. But what you're saying is when you buy it, when you've invested your money in it and you bought it, now you can start thinking of the creative things that you can do with it and the different ways that you can cook it. And there's a million recipes on the internet and websites and everything that you can really do some.
That's right.
And
the food is fresher too, because if you're shopping a little bit more frequently at a smaller market, you're going to get fresher things.
That makes sense too.
Like in Europe, they don't shop in these big, huge
markets.
They shop in they buy less, and they shop much more simply,
much more often. And then I noticed too in Europe that they have more like specialty stores. You would buy your cheese from one store and your bread from the bakery, but where we go to the supermarket, they've got everything in one building.
Exactly.
So it's a little different having those different locations to get the fresh stuff too. So they're more encouraged to do that and to eat healthy, I would say. So what are some of the common misconceptions that keep people stuck? I mean, we talked about being worried that your fresh food's going to go bad or something and you're not going to cook anything. But are there other like misconceptions that people have, or they don't even, they're just making this too difficult or thinking about it being too difficult when it really isn't?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as difficult as people make it sound.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's, I think just some principles of going back to how your grandmother ate. Eat the way your grandmother ate.
Yeah.
And she didn't have all of the bells and whistles of these supermarket brands. And, avoid, I think, food products that have more than 5 ingredients in them. And that's a hard thing to do.
That's very hard to do, yes. But true, but just getting people to look at the labels, like you're saying, to understand what's in it. And to think about maybe that it's not like it's expensive. It's not like it's a little more work to cook, right, than eating something that comes out of a box. But it's not much more expensive to eat that much better. And it's a lot less expensive than all the health problems and medications you can end up with later.
People, they say that I can't afford to be healthy. I can't afford healthy food. And I maintain that it's not as hard as you think. And if you can't afford to be healthy, I can tell you sure can't afford to be sick.
Right.
Because it is way better to prevent illness than it is to try to fix it once you're already sick.
Right. Say that again. It's less expensive to be.
It's way less expensive to be healthy.
Right.
than it is to be sick.
Yeah,
So when people
definitely.
say, I can't afford healthy food, and I'm saying, you really can't afford to buy the not healthy food,
Right.
because you will end up paying for it in healthcare costs down
Right.
the road. So it's either you pay now or you pay later.
Right.
But, we've really been railroaded in this country to think that food should be cheap, inexpensive, because when you look at
Right, that's
every
true.
dollar that a European spends is way more money that they spend on food than we do in this country.
Oh, that's true. We
Yep.
just, our perception
Yes.
of eating healthy is that it's
It-
more expensive.
It is.
Right.
And it's what we're buying and all the things that we're buying that are making
Right.
it seem expensive.
Right.
But when you really think about, things that are healthy, like a bag of carrots and some legumes, beans and rice and seeds and onions and potatoes and those basic things,
Right.
you can make a lot of delicious food with those things, and you can have them for 3 meals. I mean, think about a pan of roasted vegetables.
Yeah.
You could do a dozen things with those and have
Right.
it for 3 different meals
Right. And have it through the week, definitely.
and have it through the week.
And I like to, because I remember on the last time you were on the show, you were talking about how, eating healthier, eating this way will actually keep us full longer, so we don't have the cravings that we normally would have if our body is starving for those nutrients.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
right. People, another misnomer is, about counting calories.
Yeah.
I would tell people to count fiber,
Count fiber. Okay.
because that is what satiates us, is fiber. It's what feeds our gut, what keeps our blood sugar even, and keeps
Right.
us fuller longer. So if you were to add more fiber into your diet
Right.
through if you're eating more, plant-forward foods, right, things that had fiber in them, then that would level out your blood sugar and really help your cravings. But,
Right.
when you strip the nutrients out of food in boxed and packaged things, they take the fiber out.
Right. That makes sense. And I know, too, a lot of people think when you're mentioning the calories, counting calories is a way to lose weight, if they're trying to lose weight. But are you saying then that you can eat, well, I'm thinking you can eat more of the real food.
Yes.
Right? Eating more of it to help you feel full longer than you would if you were just counting calories and kind of starving
That's-
yourself of the nutrients.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Like if you were to eat a bag of potato chips, you
Right.
wouldn't be satisfied.
Right.
But if you were to eat a baked potato, right?
Yeah,
with
it would
some
make a
broccoli
big
on it or
difference,
something,
yeah.
you would be satisfied.
Feel
and
better.
calorie for calorie, it's the same.
Huh.
But you don't
Okay.
you overeat with the bag of potato chips. You're not
Yes.
going to overeat.
We do.
with eating the potato.
Right. That's true. Definitely. Okay. Good point. And that's really helpful too. I mean, to kind of think about it with that comparison like that. And I know that there are other benefits to eating the real food that you talk about, things like, how it affects our energy levels, our mood, our, even things like our mental focus. Is that what you think too? Is like that? Is there a shift in that?
Absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, we always thought up until about 15 years ago, that our gut and our brain were 2 different entities.
Right.
And what we're really learning through very conclusive science is that everything's connected.
They are connected.
And your
Right.
gut, your microbiome is really your second brain.
Okay. So explain
And
that.
so like if you have if you have brain fog or there's things wrong with your brain, always look to your gut.
Change your diet
Yeah.
first. Go to the
Yes.
diet first. Okay. That's really helpful because a lot of us would think to go to the medications first, so the supplements to help if we have focus issues or something.
Yeah.
So you're saying by changing the diet, eating the potato instead of the potato chips, those kinds of things, that would not only help us feel full, and when we're full, we're not thinking about what we need to eat next and
Exactly.
being driven for that.
Your cells are, when you're eating the bag of potato chips, your cells are really never satisfied. You might be initially satisfied from eating the potato chips, but your cells are telling you,
Right.
I'm not satisfying. So they're always screaming,
Yeah.
they want that satisfaction, but they're never getting it.
Right.
You know, like that song, I can't get
Yeah.
no satisfaction. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I could see how it affects our mood too, because when we're like, we've got that hungry, like, or even I've noticed times when I've eaten like unconsciously, I'm just eating and I don't even remember because I'm emotional or something. It's like, I feel like I'm angry or irritable because I haven't gotten what my body needs. Does that make sense? It's
Absolutely.
like I feel like my body's reacting or my mood is reacting to it
Yep.
as well.
Yep. And
Yeah.
because it remembers, you know, these cells remember what you're feeding them, and it affects everything in your mental state, in your mood.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. And so what are some other like small shifts that people can make, or is there anything specifically for parents that you can share that might be, you know, helpful to make some changes in the day, you know, just as they go through the day?
You know, I think kids really want to be healthy and they want to learn. And I think that as a parent, if you can get your kids in the kitchen and start cooking with them.
Oh, yeah.
And make them part of the meal.
Right.
And they will really respond.
Yeah.
And it's an activity you can do together. And yes, sometimes it makes a bit of a mess, but the long-term gain of that, of teaching children about cooking together around the family and eating together, kids will try what they make.
Yeah.
So
that's really good advice, because I can even see even little kids, you know, younger kids that, you know, can't do everything, or maybe, you know, can just get to the stove, but they can still mix things, and there's lots of other things that they can do.
And you're teaching them skills to have their own autonomy over their health as well, when they're being part of cooking with you in the kitchen side by side. Yeah.
And I also think maybe even taking a little bit of the fear or the anxiety around cooking too, because I think there is, like, you know, this perception that cooking is hard. You have to kind of be a scientist or a chemist to kind of figure out, what do you need to put in the pan first? What do you need to, you know, so getting kids used to it when they're young, they learn, you know, okay, this is how you cut the vegetables, or this is what you should put in the pan first, and then let that cook first. It's like those little things that would take the fear out of trying to learn it later, you know, when they're adults.
Absolutely. And food does not have to be complicated, and particularly when it's fresh. There's so little that you have to do to it to make it truly delicious.
Right. That's one thing I did remember from when I was in Europe. There was definitely a difference in how little the food was processed, and that the food that you got was so fresh. It was so flavorful. It was so good. It was like, wow, why can't I, you know, even eating the bread. I know a lot of people talk about the bread, and France doesn't have the same, you know, glutens and things that we have here. It was like everything was different.
Right. Well, they don't have the chemicals.
The chemicals, right.
You know, we allow glyphosate and chemicals on our crops, and that's really messed with our microbiome too.
Right. Yeah. And then to think about it, not only that, but that the bread that is processed that we have is also what's making it last long on the shelf.
Yes.
And so in France, right, the stabilizers. So then when you go to Europe and you have these, you know, these other options that are so fresh, you could just, you know, go back and get more the next day because there's a bakery right on the corner, you know.
That's right. And you don't waste, and there's no waste.
Yeah,
you know, you're not wasting as much food.
That's true.
Either.
That's a good point too. So, well, Lolli, this was great. Oh my gosh. I feel like we were able to really sort this out. This was also very helpful to me because, like I said, some of this I haven't seen before, but I think it's really helpful to just give people a couple of, you know, quick and easy things to remember and to think about, but having the visuals too helps you when you're in the store, you know, and when you're doing your shopping, and to think about it that way, and also to think about how easy it is to cook at home. Yeah, definitely. So is there anything else you'd like to leave with our viewers or listeners today?
Just eat real food.
Eat real food. Love it. All right. And tell everybody how to connect with you, how to find you too.
Yes. Yep. I'm at Leeson of Lees-onlife, and I'm happy to connect with anybody. I love conversations around family nutrition and helping parents armor up
Yeah.
for the most important job in their life, raising healthy kids.
That's right. That's great. And I know you're on social media too, because I see some of your videos that you do that are educational as well. So, yeah, check out leesonlife.com as well as Leeson Life on Facebook
And Instagram.
And Instagram too. Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for being
Very
here
welcome.
today.
My pleasure.
So, and thank you, all of you, for watching or listening here today on Rise, Heal, and Grow with Leah M. Hill. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe on whatever platform you're joining us on. And please come back again soon. We have lots more episodes coming up.